Hi, I'm Jennifer Jessup with Trade Show News Television here at the Las Vegas NAB show, and with me is Gordon Tubbs from Canon. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, nice to have you.
It's nice to see you today. This booth is amazing. It's huge.
Yeah, and it's not only is it huge, it's beautiful, but it's very high tech as well too. Everything from prosumer high def through the highest levels of high def you're going to find in this booth.
Right. The energy in your booth is so exciting. Every time I've walked by it since we got to the show, there have been tons of people in here. They're so fascinated with the Canon products. And speaking of Canon products, can you talk to us a little bit about what you're premiering this year?
Sure, absolutely. Within the world of high definition television, which is what we've been working on for 10 years now, we've finally gotten to the point where it is pretty much normal in people's lives and in our customers' lives. So today here, there's no such thing as standard def product anymore, standard def technologies.
Right.
So what we're premiering here today are two things: an autofocus technology that has actually been worked on for several years, and we last year brought it into what we call our sports and field lenses. The other is that this year we're bringing it into our studio applications, and I'd like to also talk a little bit about why we did that.
Please do.
And then on top of that, we'll talk a little bit about some small robotics that we make for field applications for HD as well.
Right. You guys have those long autofocus lenses for sports, right?
That's right. As a matter of fact, we're standing in front of one and one to my left.
Well, let's tell me about this DIGISUPER 100 AF, right?
Right. It's actually we give them nicknames because their real names are ridiculous. This is actually an XJ100 by 9.3 BIE-D AF.
Now, was that the nickname?
That's the real name. So thank God we have DIGISUPER 100 AF, and that's the way our customers refer to it.
I see. Okay.
You're looking at not only the latest in optical technologies here, a 100 times magnification ratio. We have something called a built-in 2x extender. It makes it a 200 times magnification ratio. And to put that in terms that are easy to understand, if this TV camera were in the last row of a 60,000 seat stadium, you'd be able to full screen the quarterback's eye.
In focus.
In focus.
Is that in high def?
That's in high definition, full 1080i. As a matter of fact, we're heading towards something called 1080p high def, which will even be higher resolution than we are now. This lens and its brothers, our 86:1 lens, our studio lenses are all capable of handling that from an optical standpoint. So you're buying very high level optical quality when you buy our lenses. We've designed all kinds of new optical coatings to go with the lenses. We use very interesting and very high-tech lens elements. In a lens like this, there might be 35 different glass elements. Of those 35, within one lens,
really,
there are actually, in a case like this, we would definitely have about 35 glass elements. Of that, the materials to make those glass elements will be maybe 20 different kinds of materials, plus maybe 18 or 20 different materials to coat those elements, all to make as perfect a picture as we can reach the camera. We have a saying, the lens creates the image. The image will never be any better than when it leaves the lens.
Right.
At that point, it goes to the camera and into the recording process and the editing process.
Exactly.
So if it starts out poor here, it'll never get any better down the road. The lens creates the image.
So when we're sitting way up in the rafters and we're looking at the monitors and we're seeing the sweat on the brow of one of the linebackers on the field,
right,
that's your lens creating that beautiful image.
Right? That's correct.
I always thought there were guys out on the field next to him. It was just too, it's not believable that they can get that close. It feels like you're standing right next to him.
Well, to give you different points of view, yes, they will have handheld cameramen on the field.
Sure.
There'll be different reverse angles, but believe it or not, like if you watch an NFL football game, the majority of what you watch that game with will be cameras that are up high and away from the field, and then that are panning, and that's what these lenses do.
Fantastic.
Now, what we've added now is something very new, which is an autofocus function. And you'd say, well, why is that important? Camera operators for years have been operating cameras without it. It's high definition. There's a term in high definition that I love. It's actually an optical term. It's called the permissible circle of confusion. It's a great term.
The permissible circle of confusion.
Isn't that a great term?
That is pretty, yeah, you need to explain that.
Yeah. The permissible circle of confusion is the ability of the human eye, and we can put a number to it, and that's why we call it that, The ability of the human eye to distinguish what's in focus and what's not in focus.
Okay.
The brain's a very interesting device. If something is slightly out of focus, but within a certain range, it'll actually make it in focus. So in your brain, it's actually in focus. Right. Of course, there's only one true focus point that any kind of camera will look at, but there's always an area behind and in front of the camera that also appears to be in focus. In standard definition television, what we've been living with for many years, we have a fairly large permissible circle of confusion, and when you put that into this ridiculous mathematical computation, you get a nice big area in front of and behind the subject that would be considered in focus. In high definition television, it's a much smaller number, and it makes sense because when you're viewing a high def screen, you have much more information, much more resolution. The brain can distinguish better if something really is out of focus. So that number being smaller, we put it into that formula, we end up with a much shorter depth of field, meaning that, for example, in standard definition, if you shoot a reporter such as yourself, your nose will be in focus and your eyes will be in focus. You then stay in the exact same place, put a high definition camera in the exact place that the standard def camera was. Your nose may be in focus and your eyes may be out of focus now. And that's a function of high definition television. So now it leads me back to autofocus. It's very hard for camera operators to focus in high definition. Several reasons. One is that short depth of field. Keeping everything in focus all the time is hard. The other is viewfinders. Viewfinders are not, they're small. They're very hard for the camera operator to really know, am I in focus? Now, in what we call an OB van or the TV trucks, the director's sitting in front of all these big, beautiful monitors, and the director can tell that the operator's out of focus, even when the operator can't.
Yes, exactly. Right.
So we built this tool, an expensive tool admittedly, an autofocus system in the lens. It's not in the camera, because we can put this lens on many different cameras, where the operator, if they're not sure, all they have to do is hit one button. The button's on our focus controller, which is right here, and then within the viewfinder that they're looking at, as long as there's a box that we put into that viewfinder that's on the subject, that subject immediately snaps into focus. Everybody in the truck knows it, the camera operator knows it. It's a comfort factor for the camera operator that they're not guessing whether they're really in focus or not.
Right, that's fantastic.